Hi, everyone. You're listening to Business Lunch, a podcast for anyone who wants to not think about work while thinking about work. Still haven't figured out what that means yet. We discuss some of the biggest issues facing the wide world of business management today. What else do we do, guys?
Talk about lunch.
Talking about lunch. Okay, so today's episode, is busy the new stupid? It's an interesting concept. So let me frame this for us. In business, we love to be busy. We're constantly scheduling, calling, emailing, meeting, reviewing, all kinds of stuff. And the traditional idea behind this is that the busier we are, the more we get done. It makes sense to some degree, but if we're always running around, when do we actually have time to think and plan for what we want to get done? So how do we come up with new creative or innovative ideas if we're always occupied? Hence the title. Is busy the new stupid? This idea comes from a clip we watched of Warren Buffett sharing his empty calendar with Bill Gates. So it's kind of funny. The way he tells it, Bill Gates had this revelation, seeing Warren Buffett, this hugely successful person, have a calendar that is absolutely empty. So Bill Gates starts to think, well, how important is time? And really how valuable is time in the day-to-day, and what does having time lead you to be able to do? So we're going to talk about this concept today. We'll discuss how busy we think we should be, and how do we make time for things like thinking and being creative. And of course, because this is Business Lunch, we're also going to talk about meal preparation. So this is all about time and creating the time. So we'll get into a concept with that in just a little bit. But I want to open it up to Will and Jim. So here's my first question. Why do we pack our schedule with back-to-back meetings, strategy sessions, and reviews? Why do we do this?
I mean, think about it too, it's not always our choice to be in some of these meetings and these strategy sessions. And you have these things where, upper management or these other people who maybe might not have the same things or their calendars like, hey, we need to do this to accomplish something. And some of these meetings aren't by choice. Sometimes they're necessary, sometimes they're not. But, why do we have it now? I actually, I'm going to be on the flip side of a lot of this. I love a busy schedule for several different reasons. But I don't know, why do we?
I don't know. It's funny. I did it today. I came in and I saw a gap in my schedule and I put something on it. And I'm not sure why. I think it's that thought of just being busy, making sure that people know you're busy. Like, so where we work, we share our calendars. Anybody can see your calendar at any given time. Anybody can put anything on your calendar at any given time. So therein hence is why you sometimes get a packed schedule.
Yes.
Because if the time's open, somebody's going to put something on it because they need to meet with you, they need something from you or something like that. But I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it denotes that you're not doing what you need to do, right? But again, at the same time I say that, I did it this morning. I put something on my schedule. My schedule's packed today, back to back. Not even a lunch in there.
Yeah,
reality, right? So I don't know why we do it, Scott. It's a great question.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with our perception of ourselves. I think a lot of people do it for different reasons. Some people are probably afraid to not appear busy because if we're not busy, then what are we doing? And are we using our time in a meaningful way? I mean, we have a culture that is so focused on productivity and getting things done and constantly running around. I mean, our vacation schedule in American work reflects that. European jobs have typically a lot more vacation time built in and fewer working hours. And in America, we really just, we work and work and work. And I think it does come down to that idea that the busier we are, the more we're getting done. Now, I think we all know from experience that that's not always true. But because the perception is so strong, we want to make sure we're busy. I'm not afraid to appear busy. But when I schedule my calendar, I know that I think to myself, am I going to have a productive day today? And a productive day really is about how much I'm scheduling, even if I schedule, time for myself just to work on a thing and put it in my calendar and it's just me and no one else is part of it. It goes back to that. So, some of us for fear and some of us out of just the need to be productive or the perception.
It's funny. I'm actually pulling up my calendar right now. So in the 45 hours, including lunch, I have 9-10 hours that is actually unscheduled at this time. Today's Thursday. Maybe more things might come up on Friday. But as I'm looking at this, I realized I didn't actually schedule a single one of those meetings.
Yeah, so that's what happens in our culture is that, right? And there's parts of that I love, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If you need a meeting with me and it's important enough that I need to be in it or be on the schedule, I love the idea of putting it on the schedule. But I think what I don't do well is carve out time for myself.
Exactly.
I don't block that out. I say, okay, well, I'm coming at 8:00 today, and I'm for an hour, I'm gonna do some research on something or just sit and think about something. It doesn't happen because next thing you know, you come in, something's on your schedule.
Exactly.
So I don't take that time to do that, and I don't know that it's a fear of not being busy. It could be. Some of that could be, right? You want to be busy. You want to be contributing to your team and to the organization. So yeah, I mean, it could be some of that. I mean, you don't want to have a day that has nothing on it necessarily.
Well, not necessarily. Exactly.
That's the way we look. But if you watch the Warren Buffett thing, he's got the entire week has one appointment on it, and the rest of the time is for him to think and do what he needs to do to make that either one appointment special or whatever his goal is special. And so that's kind of how he does it.
Right. We know that that's not a reality of most of our lives. And that's really where this episode comes from, is trying to think about, because we're going to be busy, because we're going to have full calendars, how do we figure out the ways to carve out that time? So we'll get there. But I want to dig deeper into this question for a little bit and ask you this. Is it true that being busy equates to being serious?
I would say absolutely not.
No.
Because busy is just you're doing stuff.
Yeah.
If you're running in a circle, that's not being busy. I mean, that's being busy, but it's not being serious.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. I mean, you could be doing something that has nothing to do with what you actually need to achieve.
It'll be adding no value,
right?
No positive impact. It could even be counterproductive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're mutually exclusive.
Okay, that makes sense to me. So let's get into our food discussion today. This is Business Lunch, so we like to talk about lunch. This is not necessarily a lunch question, but it is a food question. So we're talking about time today. And we're talking about how we can get the most out of our time. So, Will and Jim, if you had an entire day to prepare just one meal, what would it be?
I'm going to let Jim go with this one because I know he's excited for this. I'm equally excited, but
So for me, it would be ribs.
Yeah.
And for me, it'd be ribs on the grill, right? Low and slow, and just take all day to cook them. So they basically just fall off the bone when you start eating them. So smoking ribs for me would be and all that. Look at me. Do I look like I'm going to smoke some ribs?
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a salad. No, I'm
going to have a salad with my ribs.
Yeah, okay.
While it's cooking, I'll eat the salad.
Good for you. So that's it for me.
Yeah, it's funny. Same question. As soon as I got this question, my eyes lit up because that actually is going to be my dinner tonight. Is I'm going home during lunch and I'm putting ribs in a crock pot for 6 hours so I can eat that tonight once I get home.
Yeah, once we get home to your house.
Oh yeah, you needed to go take a look at the new house, didn't you, Jim? Yeah.
I did. So there you go. There's a good reason.
Yeah, there you go. Get some ribs on there. As a vegetarian, I will not partake, but I will eat the salad. So for me, it's I think it's pizza. So I make pizza every now and again, but I cut a lot of corners. So I'll use like the pre-made sauce, or I'll not buy a dough in the store. Actually, this is a pro tip. If you go to your favorite pizza place and ask them if you can get they'll sell you some dough, and they absolutely will if they're worth anything. And it's good. So, but what I would do if I had the whole day, and this wouldn't take the whole day, but I'd really take my time with it. I'd cut the tomatoes, I'd put the paste in, make the sauce and all that stuff, let it simmer for a good long time, and then I could really enjoy it. And usually I'm just trying to make a pizza in 10 minutes or something.
Right.
Okay, so let's get into the last thing here. This is my final question on this. I'd like us to each share one tip for how to make the time for creativity and thought, right? If our calendars are full and it's really hard to do that, what do we do? Because we have to do it. We need that time for thinking and creativity. How do we get it?
Well, for me, I do a couple of things. Some of the best thinking I do is, unfortunately, when I wake up. I wake up in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden I have ideas. So that doesn't translate very well for getting a good night rest and being ready to go. But I think it's knowing your goal, right, and doing activities around that goal. Putting time, which I need to do as well, on my calendar and say I need an hour today to just think and just think about whatever that may be. One of the things that we've done here, I know I have posted my goal up on my wall. And so if I'm doing something that doesn't equate to that goal or doesn't support or help that goal, then why am I doing it? Maybe free up my calendar. Don't put busy stuff on your calendar. And then I'm definitely a person that does that from time to time. So that's where I need to refocus that and create that time for myself and just block my calendar. So that, like I said, in our culture, you just put something on somebody's calendar. But if it's blocked, you can't do it. Mm-hmm. So take that time every day, maybe once or twice a day. And I know sometimes ideas start coming to you at odd times, and you might have a meeting already. And maybe that 8 o'clock is not going to work for you every day. So you're going to have to be creative with how you do that. But I know that, when I wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night, I have some great ideas, jot those down, maybe take a record that. By the bed and be done with it and get back to sleep and then approach it the next day when you carved out some time. And then everything has to support the goal at the end of the day. So, and that's a whole different session, which is about, creating goals and prioritizing. But yeah, that's what I think I do.
I think for me, the idea is to be cognizant of, you have to separate proactive work from reactive work. And I generally think typically mornings for most people are better for proactive work. You're refreshed. You're not frazzled from all the reactive stuff that you had. So I usually recommend is to try to block off some time in the morning if you're capable. When you come in, maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock for a good 2 hours, and focus on that being your proactive work where you can actually think and solve your problems. If that is something that you're able to do, then absolutely try to do that. And also work with your team members to try to understand when is the best time, so everyone can be on the same page, so that you're all proactively working at the same time and reactively working at the same time, so you can concentrate and focus uninterrupted.
Yeah, one thing that just hit me while you're talking about that, sorry about that, Scott, was that, we all want to be great team members, right? We all want to share and help each other out. Sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah.
You have to say no at that moment, not no forever, but maybe no at that moment for that interruption or distraction or whatever it may be. So that's, that's a tough thing to do, especially we have such a close knit team where we work that, you always want to help everybody out. If somebody's having a problem, you want to fix that right away and help any way you can. But sometimes you have to learn to say no. And hopefully you've got a good team that respects that and doesn't get offended by it or anything, and will continue to come back and seek some advice. But anyway.
Yeah, I think for me, it's not just having the time and blocking out the time. It's how I approach that time. So, in my role, I try to do a lot of creative thought, right? It's an ideas role to some extent, and there's idea and then there's execution. So you need the time to actually execute the thing, but then you need the time to come up with the idea. So my suggestion, and this works for me, is that I need to take myself out of my familiar environment to come up with a new idea. So if I block out, let's say 2 hours, and I'm going to be thinking of something during those 2 hours, I'm going to be planning or strategizing, and it requires creativity from me. I can sit there for 2 hours and just say, now I'm thinking. This is the time that I'm thinking. I am supposed to be thinking now. And I can't, and I won't actually come up with anything. So for me, I take a walk, or I go somewhere else. I go to a coffee shop, because when I sit at my desk and look at the same environment, I can't I can't see it in a new way. I see the same old thing, and it doesn't lead me down that creative path. So I'll get philosophical for a second. The author, Walker Percy, says that we can't see the Grand Canyon because we've already seen 1,000 photos and videos of the Grand Canyon. So when we actually get to the Grand Canyon, we're not actually seeing it as it is. We're seeing it mediated through all of the images we've already seen it through. And I think to me that really relates to work is if I'm coming in and seeing the same thing every day, I'm not really going to get that kind of creative inspiration. I need a change of setting. And so it's how you get that time, but it's also what you do with that time that really helps me.
Well said.
Thank you. That's the most. That's the deepest I'm going to get on this. Back to I'm going to go back to thinking about food. Okay, so that's our time for today. We want to thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Just a reminder that you can listen to us in a variety of ways on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, and here, there, and everywhere.
Stand outside our door and listen to us record it.
Yeah, you can call us up and ask us to, I don't know, record just for you. We probably won't do that, but maybe we will. We're still small. Who knows? Okay, so thanks everybody. We look forward to recording again, and keep us in your mind.
See you next week.
See you.